Let's talk about how we create corporations. First off, you select what state you want to incorporate in. Important factors include how easy it is, how much it'll cost, and the regulatory environment. In addition to the initial filing fee, most states charge an annual fee regardless of the company's income. So even if you're generating no revenue, there's still an annual fee. So you would want to check that out before you begin one. On the regulatory environment, you want to look at what kinds of regulations exist in a particular state that would govern what you're doing and how much does this add to the complexity or cost of doing business in that state. How do you create a corporation? Well, there are two documents that you generate typically. The first would be the Articles of Incorporation, and the link shown would illustrate a sample form. You can do a business search if you'd like to find out whether a particular corporation exists in California and where it's located. You can look all of this up. It's publicly available information. The second big document is the bylaws, and these are the internal operating agreements related to the corporation. The articles of incorporation are typically very short and, as I mentioned, publicly available. The bylaws are considerably lengthier and not publicly available. The next thing you do is qualify and issue the shares. By issue the shares, I mean to sell them. You are selling them from the corporation to the shareholder. By qualify, I mean unless you are exempt because you're a small offering or you have some other exemption that applies, you'll need to qualify them since they are securities, and the SEC and possibly the state in which you're doing business will require that you qualify to issue those securities. What if you mess up? In other words, what if you try to create a corporation or you didn't try very hard and you made a mistake? You didn't actually create the corporation. One doctrine you should know is called corporation by estoppel. Again, estoppel means stop. It means even though something's true, you cannot assert it. And this occurs when a third party reasonably relies on a representation that a corporation exists, although in fact it does not. If corporation by estoppel applies, it means that you cannot deny if the corporation later comes into existence. The corporation will become liable. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. A second thing to realize is that agents may be personally liable for making a false representation. In other words, saying that there is a corporation when in fact there isn't. And they can become liable under a contract theory, which is breach of warranty, or under a tort theory of misrepresentation. Here's an example. Suppose that Tiffany and Twyla start a cafe, Sunrise Inc. Tiffany signed a contract with a supplier as Tiffany for Sunrise Inc. In other words, Tiffany is representing herself to be an agent of the corporation. On May 1st, Sunrise Inc., however, was not incorporated until June 30th. Now the business has unfortunately become insolvent and they have not paid their vendors. In the lawsuit, Vendors versus Tiffany, Twyla, and Sunrise Inc., what are the results and on what theories? Well, let's do them separately, and if this is on an exam, break them out separately. Let's take Sunrise Inc. first. Vendors versus Sunrise Inc. The technical answer would be that the contract was created on May 1st. Did Sunrise Inc. exist on May 1st? No, it did not come into existence until almost 2 months later. So the technical answer you would give is you can't sue them for breaching a contract before they existed. However, corporation by estoppel may apply. There was a representation that Sunrise Inc. did exist on May 1st because that's how Tiffany signed the document. That representation was false. If the supplier is being viewed as reasonable and relying on Tiffany's representation, then corporation by estoppel will apply and Sunrise Inc. will be barred from denying that they were a corporation on May 1st, although in fact they were not. They can therefore become liable under this contract. How about Vendors versus Tiffany and Twyla? Well, on May 1st, the business was not incorporated. What were they then? Well, they were two or more people agreeing to co-own a business for profit. That makes them a partnership. Are they personally liable on this contract with the supplier? Yes, because they're partners. So the theory against Twyla would be that she's liable as a partner. That's true against Tiffany as well. But you have additional theories against Tiffany. Why? Because she made a false representation on May 1st that there was a corporation. Therefore, she's liable for making that false representation under a theory of breach of warranty, which is a contract theory, or misrepresentation, which is a tort theory. Everyone, therefore, is liable.